$1,600 just vanished from your ledger this year, disappearing into the ether without a receipt, a thank you note, or a single trace of where it went, leaving a gaping hole where your future used to be. You never signed a contract for this loss, you didn't click accept terms and conditions. Yet the auto draft hits your existence every single morning like a clockwork mugging in a blind alley. I'm staring at the crime scene right now, your bank account, and there is no broken glass, no forced entry, just the silent, suffocating evidence of a slow-motion heist that nobody is investigating. They call it the cost of living, a polite euphemism for a ransom note that gets updated monthly while your paycheck stays frozen in a cryochamber, preserving a value that expired back in 2023. This isn't about skipping the avocado toast or brewing coffee at home. It is about a structural parasitism that feeds on the caloric value of your labor before the direct deposit even hits the wire. We are tracking a phantom suspect, a ghost in the machine that siphons value through the Cantillon spigot, hydrating the assets of the elite while leaving the working class with a handful of dust. Look at the price of steak, the rent checks, the insurance premiums. Those aren't just numbers climbing a chart. They are the fingerprints of a currency that is bleeding out on the pavement. The victim here isn't just your liquidity. It's your time, the finite hours of your life traded for paper promises that dissolve like sugar in hot water the moment you try to redeem them for goods. In this city, the money doesn't talk. It screams as it dies, strangled by a monetary policy designed to penalize the savers and reward the reckless architects of unpayable debt. You check your balance and see the same number as last year, but that number is a liar, a mask hiding the rotting face of purchasing power that has decayed by 12% in real terms. This is the Ghost subscription of 2026, a mandatory membership to the Club of Poverty, billed automatically through every transaction you make, from the gas pump to the grocery aisle. The forensics don't lie. When they print 1 trillion units of currency to bail out a failing ledger, they are diluting your life savings just as surely as a bartender watering down cheap whiskey to steal from the patrons. It's a closed-loop extraction system, a perfect crime where the robbery is legal, the getaway car is a government limo, and the police report is redacted before you can even file it. You walk down the aisles of the supermarket and see the shrinkage, boxes getting smaller, air-replacing product, which is just the physical manifestation of your money losing its muscle mass. They tell you inflation is cooling, but that is just the sound of the fire burning slightly quieter while it continues to consume the structural foundation of your house. Every dollar you hold is a melting ice cube in a sauna built by central planners who have never had to worry about the price of milk in their entire sheltered lives. The working class is bleeding out from 1,000 invisible cuts, each one labeled service fee, surcharge, or adjustment, but collectively forming a fatal wound to the American dream. I've seen enough fraud to know when the books are cooked, and right now, the global balance sheet is a work of fiction written by authors who think debt is an asset and solvency is a suggestion. This isn't a market correction. It is a wealth transfer, moving capital from the pockets of the oblivious many to the vaults of the connected few with surgical precision. We need to pull back the sheet on this corpse and look at the autopsy, because what killed your savings wasn't an accident. It was a premeditated assassination by the printing press. I dusted the crime scene for prints and found the smudge marks of the Cantillon Effect all over the cash register, proving that those closest to the money printer feast while the rest of us fight for scraps. The mechanism of the murder is simple physics. When new money floods the system, it hits the banks and hedge funds first, pumping their assets full of steroids before it ever trickles down to dilute your wages. By the time that fresh currency reaches your pocket, the prices of housing and groceries have already sprinted ahead, meaning you are effectively working harder to chase a finish line that is being moved by the judges. This ghost subscription acts like a hidden tax levied without a vote, silently transferring purchasing power from the savers who hold cash to the debtors who hold assets and the politicians who hold power. We are looking at a classic Ponzi structure where the early adopters, the government and the banks, get the value, and the late adopters, you and the pensioner, get the bag of worthless paper. Analyze the DNA of the dollar and you find it has been genetically modified to lose value, incentivizing a manic consumption cycle because saving money is now mathematically identical to burning it. The forensics show a clear pattern of financial repression, a deliberate strategy to keep interest rates below the rate of inflation, slowly bleeding the debt away at the expense of your retirement fund. It's not a bug in the software, it's the operating system. The Fiat standard requires perpetual expansion to prevent collapse, turning the economy into a shark that dies if it stops swimming in debt. Corporate greed is the suspect the media parades in the perp walk, but they are just the scavengers picking at the carcass. The one who pulled the trigger is the entity controlling the money supply. They engineered a negative real yield environment, which is fancy economist talk for a rigged casino where the house takes a cut of your chips every time the wheel spins, regardless of where the ball lands. Trace the flow of funds and you see the wealth effect is a hallucination, a mirage of rising stock prices fueled by liquidity injections rather than actual productivity or genuine economic growth. The subscription fee you are paying is the difference between the official CPI numbers, which are massaged like a mob witness, and the actual brutal reality of the checkout line. We found evidence of hedonic adjustments in the official reports, a statistical sleight of hand that claims your life is getting better because TVs are cheaper, even though you can't afford a roof to put the TV under. This is a forensic accounting nightmare where the liabilities are socialized onto the taxpayer, but the profits are privatized into the offshore accounts of the too-big-to-fail aristocracy. The intricate web of derivatives and leveraged bets is held together by the glue of cheap money, and your $1,600 a year is the solvent keeping that glue from drying out and cracking. They have weaponized the time lag of inflation, banking on the fact that it takes 18 months for the full poison of a money print to circulate through the system and kill the patient. Every time they raise the debt ceiling, they are essentially taking out a credit card in your name, maxing it out on wars and welfare, and then mailing you the minimum payment notice. The scarcity of Bitcoin or gold highlights the abundance of paper. It's the control sample in the experiment that proves the dollar is being replicated faster than a virus in a wet market. We are witnessing the industrial-scale harvesting of human time, processed through a monetary thresher that separates the value from the earner and stores it in the silos of the asset-holding class. The lab results are conclusive. This wasn't bad luck or market volatility. It was a structural extraction of wealth designed to keep you running on the hamster wheel while the cage gets smaller. The jury has returned and the verdict is guilty, but the judge is on the payroll and the warden is corrupt, so don't sit by the mailbox expecting a restitution check to arrive. That $1,600 is gone, incinerated on the altar of bad policy, and the only way to stop the bleeding is to realize that holding cash is like trying to hold your breath underwater. Eventually, you drown. Street survival in 2026 demands a radical shift in psychology. You have to stop thinking of money as a store of value and start treating it like a hot potato that burns your hands the longer you hold it. Cancel the subscription by exiting the theater. Stop playing the game by their rules where you work for a currency that is designed to fail, and start playing for assets that are designed to endure. You need to convert your labor into storage vessels that don't leak. Swap the dying paper for cold metal, for immutable code, for fertile land, anything that the central bank cannot duplicate with a keystroke. This is an evacuation order, not a drill. The ship is taking on water and the band is still playing, but you need to be quietly inflating your life raft while everyone else argues over the dinner menu. Become the master of your own supply chain, because when the currency debases, the only things that retain value are the skills in your head and the tools in your garage. Learn to distinguish between the debt that enslaves you and the debt that liberates you. In an inflationary fire, fixed-rate debt on a hard asset is the only oxygen mask available. The ghost subscription relies on your passivity, on your willingness to accept the slow boil, so the only countermove is aggressive, relentless education on how the plumbing of the financial system actually works. Don't let them gaslight you into thinking your falling standard of living is a personal failure. It is a mathematical inevitability of a fiat system reaching its terminal velocity. Isolation is a death sentence in this economy, so build a network of people who understand the grift, a parallel community that trades in value and trust rather than promised notes and empty rhetoric. The forecast for the next fiscal year is heavy rain with a chance of total liquidation, meaning the window to position yourself is closing faster than a vault door during a bank run. Stop chasing the yield and start chasing the preservation. The return on your money matters less than the return of your money when the currency itself is the risk asset. Be your own bank, because trusting a third party with your sovereignty in this environment is like handing your gun to the guy robbing you and asking him to hold it for a second. Speed is your only ally now. Every day you hesitate is another day the ghost subscription drafts a fee from your future, compounding the interest on a debt you never agreed to take on. Understand that money is just a tool, a hammer to build your escape, and right now you are using a rubber mallet to break down a steel door while the water rises. You have to opt out of the delusion to opt into the reality. building a fortress of solitude made of hard assets that stand tall even when the paper storm blows the rest of the city away. The scam only works as long as you stay asleep, as long as you keep swiping the card and ignoring the shrinkage, so splash some cold water on your face and look at the ledger. Secure your oxygen mask first, protect your purchasing power with everything you have, and stop feeding the beast that is eating your children's inheritance 1 percentage point at a time. I'm closing the file on the Ghost subscription, but keep your head on a swivel, kid, because in a rigged city, the only thing you can truly trust is what you can hold in your hand.